Okay, so today I wanted to show you an evolution of how I've come up with a storyboard, a basic storyboard for my storyline. It's going to get a little bit messy because that's the way that I do things, because really when storyboarding, it's really a process for me of brainstorming and then going from the brainstorming into more down-to-earth types of ways of actually getting the things accomplished. And that's why I kind of go through an evolution. So let me just demonstrate how I did that. So here I've got a bunch of pads of just brainstorming work. Take a close look at some of the things that are on there, and you'll see that I've got some ideas, various different kinds of ideas there. I'm pointing them out to you, from peanut butter sandwiches to creating things, and all of a sudden photography came up. So I then threw down some ideas of what maybe a basic outline could be on that, and some more derivations of it. Then I got tired of that pad, so I got rid of that pad and started using a second pad and got a little bit more detailed in my outline of possibly what could be there. And then the third pad actually had more of that, where I can actually show you, and I got things in there like actual scenarios and stuff that I thought maybe would work in all of this. That's how I started this whole process. So once I got to the point where I had actually an outline and a topic, I started to say, the old professor in me just wanted to come out and say, let's try this as something that you're very familiar with. So I jumped into PowerPoint and just started throwing ideas down again and brainstorming. The reason I like PowerPoint is it reminds me of the old use of 3x5 cards and when you're doing storyboards. And it allows you to move things around a little bit easier, and I can also start to read my handwriting that I'm putting there. So I come up with this title, the exposure triangle, which is a common term within photography, and then I started coming up with, hey, perhaps there could be two friends talking, and then started to actually put down what they would be saying back and forth to each other, with this following along with my written outline that I had on my notepads. And so I started coming up with ideas, and this right here, when you take your picture, here are three key questions, and I got those questions down, and then this was the structure of the rest of my storyline will be answering question 1, answering question 2, and answering question 3. So I got the basic outline and started going down and through all of this and having various and different things of, whether it's shutter speed or ISO or whatever, and getting the basic ideas down. All right, so there was that. But I was limited a little bit in what I could throw in as far as, I could still do it, put in, different kinds of media, and I wanted a separate section where I could start talking about what would be printed on the thing versus where would there be some background information on that, so I could find the pictures that I needed and that. And so I wanted to go to the next stage, which I'll show you now. Now we get to the final stage of my storyboarding, which is the process that I'm going to use for the rest of the time. What I've done is I took my PowerPoint and I just kind of copied it over into this format. It takes a little bit of extra time, but it helps me through the process, and each phase I'm brainstorming and adding new things to it as I'm going through. Okay, so now we've got it set up so you've got stuff that's on screen, you've got a section for your narration, and then down below some programming notes, and I really became to love this part with programming notes because I can add stuff. I just started popping different pictures in here and other things that I saw as I was going through the media libraries and other things that I could potentially use. Not that this is going to be the last one, but at least this is the example that I'll use. So here's the opening screen. You're talking about photography, so let's use something that's very important. And also I added the subtitle of learning to control light. And so this one has to show some type of light that's coming in. So that's a typical thing. But I can start throwing no narration on this side, and then I have some information or programming notes that are down there that'll help me as I'm going through there. And I've done this all the way through. So there's scene 1, slide 2. Here's an open up, and now we get that friend-to-friend conversation that's going on. And a very important thing here, I didn't know how to do the conversation very well in Storyline, so I started looking it up, and lo and behold, I found a YouTube video that the guy walks you through it very simply and came up with a method that I think I'm going to use, and I really like what he's done. So I just popped that video right down here so I know right where it is when I want to go back and actually figure out how I'm doing it step by step. And so those are the kind of things that I start throwing into the programming notes to help me as I go along. And all the time as I'm copying and pasting from the PowerPoint into here, I'm changing things and adding things and saying, oh, this is way too long. Cut this out. Do this, and and that kind of thing. So it's evolving and it's getting down to more and more, closer and closer, I should say, to what the actual product's going to be at the end. All right, so you just start to see here that there's more notes about that. The conversation goes on. There's those 3 questions that I started talking about, how important it is and for the overall structure. And then you start talking about, here's question 1, and we're going to deal with that and how we're going to answer that. And then I go through those type of things. And this is, I just start to show those. Find some really nice things within my photography literature that I was looking at and the background information, adding those in there, adding down here where I got it from so that I can give the proper attribution and not lose it so that later on I can't remember where I got it from, and I just copy that and paste those in there. And that's how it goes. I've got the different scenes and the different slide numbers, titled those type of things, or at least I've tried to remember how it all goes, and you can just see this. The other thing that I've done here that is very simple, I'll just show you right at the end, is I started using this kind of as a holding place. So as I found more and more things, I just started tacking them on to the end. So if I go all the way down here to the end, let me drop down just a little bit. Oh, you start to see some different pictures that I've thrown in there. But and you can see that I've got those. So I've already got it. But when you get clear down here towards the end, I just start throwing in. Let me get all the way to the end. Oh yeah. I get down here, I just started throwing all different kinds of pictures that I've seen that might be helpful and throw them in there. And where that came up at is I've decided to go with some of these scenarios of how to do things, and that will be actually the assessment toward the end. For example, I can throw this picture in and say, okay, you've got a setting sun, it's starting to get dark, you want to have stop action of somebody that is moving, and you don't want to have you don't want to have a shallow depth of field because you want to show this scenery besides this. So those are the answers that you have to have for each of those 3 questions. And if you can do that, you can actually set your aperture. You can use the triangle the way that it's supposed to be done. So those are the kind of questions, that's kind of how I'm going to evolve it towards the assessment and how the scenarios work out in the end. Got a lot of ideas. Now the next step is actually starting to implement those ideas within Storyline. That should be fun. So we'll keep trying that. You can see it's kind of been messy, but it's an evolutionary messy. And so I think I'm getting down now to the level that I can actually use this. Best of luck with yours.